It must be, the phenomenon of Downton has just been so amazing and has really picked up over the past year. What was it like, being in 2 seasons already and your character really just growing so much in this past year and really having such emotional expressiveness thanks to the script. What's it like to be able to be part of such a phenomenon?
It's wonderful, and we weren't really expecting it, but it's such an incredible feeling to be embraced by America in the way that it's taken off here. We didn't really expect it to, but it just feels I feel very lucky to be a part of something this special.
Sure. Well, and since this is an evening about writers, what's it like for you as an actress when you get those scripts for each of the episodes, when you're first looking them over?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first thing really. It's the material that is the thing that stands out the most when you read something, and there's nothing like reading a good script, and it's every episode that we read of Julian's, if it's 3 weeks in advance, to when we start filming it, it's just brilliant every time, and it's completely, the storylines are, you don't quite expect what's coming, and you can never really predict how your character is going to move on in each episode. Julian constantly surprises us, and his talent for narrative is just extraordinary, and for writing such lovable, intelligent characters. I think that is really the key element to the show. The core of it really is in the writing, and then everything else is a bonus. The beauty of the costumes, the set, the period. But it's really Julian who is the core of it, really. Yeah.
And to this point, it's so tempting to ask you about what's to come, but I won't, because I know you can't talk about it anyways. To this point, what have been some of your favorite moments?
I think the recent episodes, I think, of the 3rd series, there are some really beautiful moments between Matthew and Mary, and the characters have really moved on. They're not. We're not playing that kind of will they, won't they.
Right.
The way that they've been for the past 2 years in this 3rd series, they're kind of settling a little bit, and I've really enjoyed playing those scenes with Dan Stevens. And I think last season, the 2nd series, everything to do with the war, how each and every character was affected by the war. I really enjoyed the kind of emotional side of it in the 2nd series. Yeah.
Your show has reached such a hysterical level of popularity here.
It's been rather thrilling, actually. You never know. People always say, the Americans will like this or that, but you never know, or the English for that matter. And so the whole thing has been rather a whirlwind, really. But it's thrilling,
Yes. Well, I know for especially many of the below-the-line folks, the cinematographer, your composer, I've spoken with a few people from the show.
Well, and John Lunn won an Emmy last week, which was very good news for all of us.
And amazing work.
I think he's absolutely wonderful, actually. And the theme tune, I think, is extraordinary.
It's beautiful.
We all realise, that thing with sort of, they've got it. Relief.
But I know that they all really wanted to get involved because it wasn't just a period piece, but it was fresh material. It wasn't taken from something else.
Well, I think that, that's always a risk, but then if it works, it's more fun. If something has a provenance, then to a certain extent the producers think, well, at least Jane Austen fans will watch it, you know what I mean? Whereas when you've got something that was never a novel and it's just been made up out of thin air, then in a way you are going out on a limb. But of course, if you can make it work, then it's sort of more fun, really. But that's why we're so grateful to Peter Fincham for taking that chance, on totally unknown material.
And a period in time that is very researchable and very real.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, every time is real, I suppose, but...
Well, I think it was accessible, because although they were leading a life we don't lead anymore, not all that many people led it then, but because of telephones and telegrams and railways and cars, it didn't feel like a planet, on the moon. It felt like something we could sort of connect with. I think that's why we chose it, but that sort of worked.
And this past season was pretty amazing and quite astounding to watch what happened with the characters as they departed the war and moved into trying to regain normalcy.
Well,
as
it was
much
a
as
funny
one could.
time that. I mean, we go on with that really in the third series because at the beginning it was almost as if everything had survived the war. I mean, not everyone, but everything.
Right.
And the way of life had survived the war. But gradually, as the 20s went on, it was sort of clearer and clearer that that wasn't really the case, and that people had changed. Women had changed. Different demands had been made on them. They didn't want to go back to the lives they'd been leading before the war. I mean, there's generalization, but nevertheless, for a lot of them, they didn't.
Right.
They wanted new opportunities. Labour was organising, and in fact, it wasn't really the same. And the crash, in a way, sort of exposed that. And by the 30s, you're really getting into the modern world in many ways.
Right.
So it was a sort of transitional decade, really, the 20s. And quite interesting. And also, you've got the movies and, air travel and everything coming in and changing everything.
Right.
And yet it's the same people, The people who were 30 in 1910 were only 40 in 1920.
Right.
And that's what you forget sometimes, that it's not a great chasm separating the two, it's just a few years. But a few years in which a lot happened.